He stood before the council table with his crest lowered, trying not to breathe too loud. The hall was huge and cold, full of banners from 100 worlds, and every eye was on him. He was only a courier, young and unsure, but he carried a message. Many did not want to hear. "Say it again," the first speaker whispered, voice sharp like a blade. The courier swallowed. "No alien dares to enter human space. The border looks empty, but it is not empty. It is watched." A wave of uneasy sounds moved across the hall. Old admirals glanced at each other. A trader clicked her teeth. A priest pulled his robe tight. "Watched by what?" the second speaker asked softly. "By silence," the courier said. His hands shook. "By things that do not speak until you are too close to run." No one liked that answer. Silence was harder to fight than guns. Still, the council demanded proof, so the courier told his story. He had been aboard a small scout, nothing special, only 4 crew and a cheap cloak. The mission was simple: cross the border, map a few stars, return. "It looked dead," he said, eyes unfocused as memory pulled him back. "Black space, cold light, no beacons, no traffic. We laughed for the first hour. Maybe humans left," our pilot joked. The first speaker leaned forward. "And did they?" The courier shook his head. "No, they were there. We just could not see them." He explained how it began with a song. It was the quietest sound, a faint hum that did not come from speakers or engine. It was inside the hull, inside their helmets, like a note from a far bell. It rose and fell in slow waves. It made his teeth ache. "We checked systems," he said. "Everything was fine, but the song did not stop." The engineer muttered curses in 3 languages. The pilot said, "Ignore it." The navigator pressed, her hands to her ears. The hum grew deeper. "Then our star map changed," the courier said. "New stars appeared that were not real. They drew a path for us. We followed because we were afraid to disobey something we could not see." "Ridiculous," an admiral snapped. "Maps do not change themselves." The courier took a breath. "I know, sir, but it happened. And when we followed the path, the hum stopped." He could still feel that sudden peace, like stepping out of a storm. They drifted between 2 dim stars and found an object floating there, small and old. A metal sphere with human markings rubbed smooth by time. "It blinked a little light at us," he said. "Just a single pulse, like a heartbeat." The pilot said, "It is a relic. Let's take it." The navigator said, "Do not touch it." The engineer said nothing. He was staring at the temperature readings. Everything around the sphere was colder than space. The council murmured. The trader hissed, "A trap." The courier nodded. "Maybe, but not the kind we expect." They sent a claw drone, slow and careful. The moment it grabbed the sphere, the hum returned, louder, sharper, like metal bending. The lights dimmed. The cockpit smell changed, like ozone after lightning. "Put it back," the navigator cried. The pilot did, and at once the hum faded again. "It was a doorbell," the courier said in a small voice. "It was a way to ask permission." That made the hall go quiet. No one liked the idea that humans had set rules at their border, rules that turned ships into guests or thieves. "We asked permission," the first speaker said carefully. "Did you?" The courier shook his head. "We were scared. We turned to leave." That was when the second song began. It was not in their ship. It was all around them, like space itself was singing. The sound shaped words in a language none of them knew, yet they understood. "Go back," it said, kind but firm. "Go back, and do not return, unless you mean no harm." The pilot swore. The navigator began to cry. The engineer, who had fought in 3 wars and feared nothing, whispered, "They hear us. They hear our fear." The council listened as the courier told How the stars seemed to blink, one after another, like eyes opening in the dark. Shapes moved, long, thin shadows that matched their heading, like wolves pacing a fence. "We never saw a ship," he said, "but we felt the wake of mass beside us. Our hull ticked like it was cooling, our screens showed nothing. Yet something was there." "Were you attacked?" an admiral demanded. The courier shook his head. "No, not attacked, herded." He looked down at his hands. "They guided us to the edge. They kept phase with us until we crossed back into normal space. Then the song ended. The stars went quiet. But before the silence there was one last message." He lifted his eyes. It said, "This is not a threat, this is a promise. We will not chase you if you leave. We will not stop you if you come with peace. But if you bring harm, you will not return." The trader spat. "Scare tactics." The priest whispered, "Mercy." The admirals stared at the floor. The first speaker rubbed his brow ridges. "You expect us to believe humans rule their border with invisible fleets and music?" The courier shook his head again, more gently this time. "I expect nothing. I am only telling what happened." He paused, then added, "We tested one more thing before we left." The council looked up. "We sent a signal," he said, "a simple one. 'We are lost. Please help.' We did not mean it. We wanted to see what they would do." The second speaker's voice was barely a breath. "And what did they do?" The courier's eyes shone. "They lit a path of soft beacons ahead of us, not on maps, not in code, in dust. Tiny charges making a faint glow in the vacuum, a safe lane star to star until we were out. For a long time no one spoke. The story was not full of burning ships and smoking planets, yet it held their fear anyway. It hinted at plans made. In deep time, at guardians who did not brag, the first speaker finally said, "Perhaps they hide because they are weak." An admiral grunted in agreement. The courier looked at the floor, then up again. "Maybe," he said, "but I do not think so." He told them what happened in the last minute before the border spat them out. The pilot couldn't help it. Pride pushed him. "Let's test their restraint," the pilot said, and he aimed the scout at the glowing lane and fired a low-power disruptor pulse like a child kicking a fence. The stars did not blink. The song did not change. Instead, the path to safety vanished. The temperature in the cabin dropped so fast their breath fogged. The shadow mass beside them moved closer, and for a heartbeat something touched the hull. It was gentle, like a finger on a glass, but the hull groaned as if a mountain leaned on it. Then the disruptor failed. The controls froze. The pilot whispered, "I am sorry," to no one they could see. At once the path returned, brighter than before. The courier spread his hands. "They do not roar. They do not boast. They do not need to." The council shifted under the weight of those words. The priest said, "A promise can be stronger than a threat." The trader said, "A border that guides is better than a trap. You can turn a thief away without making an enemy." The admirals said nothing at all. The first speaker stood. "Your report is received," he said at last, voice plain. "We will not send a fleet. We will send a gift." The hall rustled with surprise. "What gift?" the second speaker asked. The first speaker looked toward the black window where the stars waited. "A beacon," he said, "outside their line. We will place it with open hands. The message will be simple. We respect your border. If we come, it will be with peace. If we do not, it is because we listened." Later, when the hall was empty, the courier walked alone past the banners. He thought of the hum, the soft lights in the dust, the gentle touch on their hull. He thought of the last sound he heard as they crossed back to safety. It was a voice like a quiet tide. "Go well." In that moment he understood the truth behind the fear. It was not that humans were monsters hiding in the dark. It was that they were patient and watchful and very sure of who they were. He smiled, small and tired, and whispered into the still air, "We will go well." and the silence felt like it agreed. The chamber lights dimmed, and the heavy doors closed behind the last council member. The courier's story still lingered, like smoke in the air. Yet not everyone believed it. Far across the city, in a quiet military base, an admiral prepared a plan. His crest stood high, his eyes sharp. "If humans are hiding behind silence," he told his staff, "then we will. Tear away that silence. I want proof, not ghost tales." His officers shifted uneasily. One of them, a younger captain, dared to speak. "Sir, the courier's report was clear. No alien returns unharmed if they cross too far." The admiral's voice snapped back like a whip. "That was fear talking, not fact. We are warriors. We will not let a primitive race frighten the galaxy into obedience." His words carried the power of old victories, and soon a small fleet of 5 ships was chosen. Their orders: enter human space, record everything, and return with truth. The fleet left under a quiet star, cloaked and hidden. Inside the lead ship, the captain who had spoken earlier watched the stars with growing dread. The silence beyond the border pressed like a weight. "It feels wrong," the navigator whispered beside him, "like the stars themselves are listening." The captain nodded but said nothing. Orders were orders. For the first 2 hours, nothing happened. The border was empty, only cold light and scattered rocks. Confidence rose. A gunner laughed. "See, no ghosts, only dark space." The admiral's voice boomed through the comms, strong and full of pride. "Press forward. Humans are only myths." Yet the laughter ended quickly. A soft glow appeared ahead, faint but steady. Not stars. Too close, too ordered. A path of tiny sparks lit up, one after another, leading deeper inside. "Sir," the navigator whispered, "it looks like an invitation." The admiral scoffed. "Or a warning. Ignore it. We chart our own course." The fleet turned away, engines pushing against the dark. That was when the first shadow appeared. It was not on their maps, not on their scans. It was simply there, massive and silent, sliding across the void like a mountain in the dark. Lights blinked across its surface, faint blue, like 1,000 hidden eyes. The crew gasped. "Contact!" the sensors officer cried, but the screen showed only empty space. "It's not there, but it's right in front of us." The captain felt his heart pound. The admiral ordered weapons ready. "If they block us, we show strength." But the shadow did not fire. It moved slowly aside, drifting, as if guiding them back toward the glowing path. "It wants us to follow," the captain said. The admiral's voice hardened. "No, we do not bow. Push forward." The ships roared deeper into the silence, leaving the lights behind. Moments later, the hum began. At first it was low, like distant thunder. Then it grew sharper, crawling through the hull, echoing in their bones. Crew covered their ears, but the sound came from inside, not outside. It carried a rhythm, almost like words. "Go back, go back." The navigator trembled. It's the same voice the courier heard. Suddenly, the second ship in the fleet went dark. No explosion, no warning, just silence. Its lights vanished. Its engines died. The admiral shouted for reports, but there was nothing. Only drifting metal, cold and lifeless. Panic rippled through the fleet. "Sir, we must retreat," the captain urged. "This is no myth. This is real." The admiral's pride burned hotter than fear. "Hold formation. Scan for cloaked attackers." But there were no attackers, only more shadows sliding into place. One above, one below, one behind. The fleet was surrounded, boxed in by giants that refused to show their full form. The hum rose until it shook their teeth, and then it stopped. For a heartbeat, all was still. Then a voice spoke, not through comms, but inside every mind, calm, heavy, and ancient. "You were warned. Leave now." The crew froze. Some wept. The captain whispered, "It speaks to us all." But the Admiral snarled. "Fire!" Cannons lit the void, streams of energy blazing at the nearest shadow. The beams struck and vanished. No explosion, no mark. The shadow remained untouched, as if the weapons had been swallowed. A deep vibration rolled back at them, shaking the ships until panels fell from the ceilings. Another ship's engines failed, then another's weapons shut down. The voice returned firmer. "We do not seek war, but we will end it if forced." The Admiral clenched his fists, but his command crew no longer looked at him. Their faces were pale, their eyes fixed on the dark outside. The captain rose. "Sir, enough. You will kill us all." He reached to cut engines toward retreat. The Admiral shoved him back, fury blazing. "Coward!" Before another word, the ship shuddered. The lights dimmed, and a shape appeared across the viewing window. A human ship, but not like any design they knew. It was lean, black, covered in plates that swallowed starlight. Its weapons were not pointed, but everyone felt the weight of them. And across its hull, in clear, ancient letters, was written one word: Earth. The Admiral's voice cracked. They never left." The human ship drifted closer, silent and unstoppable. The voice echoed once more. "Return to your space. Carry this message. We will not strike first. But if you bring harm, none of you will return." The captain made the choice. He seized control, engines turning the ship back toward the border. The others followed one by one, except the silent husks that floated dead. As they retreated, the shadows slid aside, guiding them out like hunters herding prey. The hum faded. The path of glowing dust returned, soft and safe. When the surviving ships crossed back into alien space, the hum was gone, but its echo stayed in their bones. The Admiral stood broken, his pride shattered, his crew avoiding his gaze. The captain spoke quietly, to no one and everyone at once. "Now we know why no alien dares enter human space, and somewhere in the dark behind them, the human ship watched until they were gone." The council chamber was restless again. The surviving captains had returned, shaken and pale, and their reports spread like fire through the galaxy. Words like shadows, voices, and earth echoed in every corridor. Still, many leaders refused to believe. Pride was heavier than fear, and so history was summoned to the table. Old records of wars long past, when humans had first fought the galaxy. An archivist stepped forward, carrying a heavy case of memory crystals. He was small, nervous, his voice trembling as he addressed the leaders. "You asked why humans inspire fear," he said. "The answer is not only what you see now, it is what they did before." A warlord sneered. "Stories, myths, we want facts." "These are facts," the archivist said. He activated the crystals, and the chamber filled with the flicker of ancient battle records. The air shimmered with scenes of ships burning, fleets scattered, planets scarred by fire. This was the first encounter war. Several empires united against Earth, believing humans were weak, young, and easy to break. The holograms showed alien armadas surrounding Earth's colonies, thousands of ships strong. The archivist's voice was low but steady. The humans were outnumbered 10-1, yet they did not surrender. They fought on every front, in every shadow, with every trick. They turned asteroids into weapons. They flooded enemy systems with false signals. They struck supply lines, not just fleets, and they never gave up. The warlord scoffed. "Any race can fight. Numbers decide the outcome." The archivist raised his hand, and the hologram shifted. It showed a small human fleet, cornered by 3 larger forces. The humans should have been crushed. Instead, their ships detonated in a sudden flare of light, tearing holes in enemy lines. "They sacrificed whole fleets," the archivist said, "not out of despair, but strategy. They used their deaths to turn battles." The chamber fell into uneasy silence. The images showed human ground soldiers fighting even after being cut off. They used fire, smoke, and traps to confuse armies larger than cities. Every human soldier was told one truth, the archivist said. Extinction is worse than death. They fought with the belief that survival was earned through defiance. An elder counselor spoke softly. And the war ended? The archivist nodded. Yes. It ended when the Great Coalition fractured. Too many empires had lost too many ships. Too many commanders feared more. The humans had not won every battle. They had lost countless lives. But they had shown the galaxy something no one forgot, that humans do not yield, not even when their sky burns. The chamber grew darker as another recording played. It was a human broadcast, transmitted during the final months of the war. A human commander stood before a shattered flag, her face pale but her voice steady. "You can break our cities," she said. "You can scatter our fleets, but you will never own us. For every ship you destroy, we will build 2. For every soldier you kill, 10 more will rise. We are not afraid to fight until the stars themselves burn out." Her words echoed through the chamber centuries later. The warlord shifted uncomfortably. Even he could not dismiss such conviction, but the archivist was not done. He turned the crystal once more, and a final image appeared. Ruins of an alien world, blackened and empty. "This was their warning strike," he said. One empire, pushed too far. The humans unleashed a weapon that turned a living planet into glass. They did not use it again. They only needed to show it once. Gasps filled the room. Some leaders turned away. Others stared with wide eyes. The archivist closed the case. His hands trembled, but his words were firm. "This is why no alien dares to test them now. It is not only the silence at their border, it is the memory of what they have done. And the promise of what they will do again, if forced." A deep quiet spread through the chamber. Then the younger captain from the recent mission stood, his voice carrying more weight than before. "We saw their power at the border. We felt it, and now we see their history. Put the pieces together. Humans are not ghosts, they are survivors. Survivors who have prepared for centuries." The priest of the council whispered, "Survivors can become conquerors." But the captain shook his head. "No. That is not their way. They do not spread out, they do not claim, they do not beg, they guard, they wait, and they remember." The warlord slammed a fist on the table. "Fear makes weak empires stronger. If we unite, we could still crush them." The archivist's voice broke through the rising noise. "And what would you crush? A people who turned loss into fire, who used sacrifice as a weapon, who burned planets to ash to send a message. Even if you win, you will lose more than you can bear. That is why they frighten us, not because they are invincible, but because they are willing to go further than anyone else." The chamber went silent again. Far above, the stars burned cold and distant. And in the silence, the leaders of the galaxy finally began to understand. It was not luck or myth that kept aliens away from human space. It was history carved in fire, a memory that still lived in the bones of every species. The first speaker rose slowly, his crest heavy with thought. "Then it is decided," he said. "We will not march into their darkness. We will not provoke what we cannot control. Humanity has earned their silence, and we will respect it." The council dispersed, voices low and eyes wary. Yet as the captain left the chamber, he thought of one final truth. The humans had shown mercy once before, when they stopped at only one destroyed world. If the galaxy ever forgot that lesson, if pride rose again, then the silence of human space would break, and when it broke, no one would be ready, he whispered to himself as he walked into the night air. "Now I know why no alien dares enter." And the stars above seemed to flicker in agreement, as if they too remembered the old wars and feared the day humanity might rise again. The night over the alien capital was restless. Rumors had spread faster than the winds across the desert. Stories of shadows, voices in the void, and the brutal history of Earth filled every tavern and military post. Some believed, some doubted, but all felt the same unease. In a quiet corner of the city's port, a small crew of young explorers gathered around their ship. They had heard the warnings, but curiosity burned brighter than fear. The captain, a thin but determined alien named Ralos, adjusted the straps on his suit. "We don't go far," he said firmly, "just across the line. A quick look, then back. If humans truly guard their border, we'll see it ourselves." His second, a nervous navigator, frowned. "The Council banned more missions after the Admiral's disaster. If they catch us," Ralos cut him off with a grin, "then we'll be famous. The first to return with real proof, not ghost tales." The others murmured uneasily, but followed him aboard. The ship was old and patched, together, but its engines were fast. With a roar, it rose into the night sky and vanished into the stars. For the first day, the journey was quiet. The crew played cards, told jokes, tried to mask their nerves. But as the second day came, the navigator's voice broke the calm. "We're nearing the human border." Everyone grew silent. Ahead stretched black space, darker than normal, as if light itself hesitated to shine there. The captain swallowed his fear. "Steady! No one turn back now!" They crossed the invisible line. At first, nothing happened. The stars looked the same. The silence seemed normal. Relief spread through the crew. One laughed nervously. "So much for the great terror of humans." Another chuckled. "Maybe they really are myths." Then the lights flickered. The hum began. It was faint at first, a vibration inside the walls, but it grew louder with every heartbeat. The engineer cursed, checking the controls. "Engines fine, power fine, but the ship feels heavy." The navigator gripped his seat. "It's the song, just like the report said." A faint glow appeared in the distance. Tiny lights, lined like stepping stones, forming a path through the black. The captain leaned forward. "They guide us, just like the others said." But one of the crew, a bold gunner with restless eyes, spat on the floor. "I don't trust tricks. This is bait. They want us to follow." He reached for the weapons console. "Let's fire a warning shot. See if anything moves." "No!" Ralos barked. "We came to observe, not provoke." But the gunner's pride was louder than reason. Before the captain could stop him, he fired a low-energy blast into the void. The shot streaked forward and vanished like a spark in water. Nothing exploded, nothing returned. For a long moment, there was silence. Then the hum grew so deep, the walls trembled. Shadows emerged, first one, then three, then five, surrounding the ship in every direction. They were vast, their shapes shifting, impossible to measure. The crew froze, the navigator whimpered. "They're here!" A voice filled the ship, not from speakers, not from comms, but from inside their minds. Calm, heavy, and cold. "You were warned." The captain tried to speak, his throat dry. "We mean no harm. We only seek truth." The voice responded, neither angry nor kind. "Truth is simple. Leave." But the gunners sneered. "They bluff. If they wanted us gone, we'd be dead." He raised the weapons again. "I'll show them we're not afraid." The captain lunged, shoving him back. "Fool, you'll kill us all." The struggle sent sparks across the console. The ship lurched, spinning toward the black. The glowing path ahead blinked out. Panic exploded through the cabin. The shadows closed in. One brushed against the hull, a silent pressure that made the metal groan as if mountains pressed on it. The crew screamed. Then the voice returned, colder now. "One chance remains." The gunner, trembling now, fell to his knees. "I was wrong," he whispered. "Forgive me." The captain shouted over the chaos. "We will leave. Guide us back." The silence stretched long enough to freeze their hearts. Then, slowly, The path returned, dim at first, then brighter, leading them toward safety. The shadows drifted aside, watching but not striking. The crew followed the lights, every eye locked on the glowing trail. No one spoke, no one breathed too loud. When they finally crossed back into alien space, the hum vanished, and the stars returned to normal. Only then did they collapse in relief. The gunner sat shaking, his pride shattered. "I thought they were weak," he muttered. "I thought they used tricks to scare us." He buried his face in his hands. "They didn't kill us because they didn't need to." The navigator turned to the captain. "What do we tell the council?" Ralos looked out at the dark border behind them. His voice was quiet but firm. "We tell them the truth. The humans are not myths. They are watchers, they are patient, and if we push them, they will end us." When they landed back at the capital, the city gathered to hear their tale. Many shook their heads, unwilling to believe. But those who looked into the crew's eyes, who saw the terror still burning there, knew the truth. That night, as the crew tried to rest, Ralos dreamed of the voice again. Calm, heavy, final. One chance remains. He woke with a cold, sweat, and whispered into the dark, "We'll never cross again." Outside, the stars burned quietly, but at the edge of sight, the human border waited, silent, patient, watching. The council chamber filled once more, heavier than before. The stories from scouts, admirals, and reckless explorers had all pointed to one truth. Humanity had not vanished. They had built something vast and hidden, something no one dared to touch. Yet pride still burned in the hearts of some leaders. They could not accept silence as power. They demanded answers. "We need proof," one shouted. "Not rumors, not fear. We must know what lies in their dark." An old counselor raised her hand. Her voice was quiet, but it carried across the room. "You want proof? Then I will show. You." She pressed a crystal into the table, and the chamber filled with an image that made even the boldest lean back. It was not a recording from centuries ago. It was new. The picture showed the border, black and empty at first. Then the view shifted, sensors peeling away layers of light. One by one, shapes appeared. Dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. Hidden stations clung to asteroids. Fleets floated in silence, cloaked and waiting. Massive towers stretched between moons, linked by invisible lines of power. It was a wall, but not of stone or steel, a wall of patience, built star by star. Gasps filled the chamber. "How long?" a merchant whispered. "Centuries," the old counselor answered. "While we argued, they prepared. While we forgot the old wars, they remembered. They have turned their space into a fortress no empire can breach." A warlord slammed his fist. "Bluff! If they had such power, they would strike." The old counselor's eyes narrowed. "No, that is their strength. They do not strike first. They wait, and they watch." The captain who had once escaped the border rose, his voice steady. "I saw it with my own eyes. Shadows followed us like wolves. They could have destroyed us, but they chose not to. They gave us a warning instead. That is more terrifying than any battle." The chamber grew restless. Some shouted for alliances, others for retreat, but one young envoy leaned forward, trembling. "If they can build such defenses in silence, what else have they built? What weapons sleep in their dark?" "No," one answered. The thought alone was enough to choke the room. Far away, in the quiet of space, a lone smuggler tested that very question. He had heard of the human border and thought it a myth. His ship was small, his greed larger. "If no one dares to go," he told his partner, "then treasures must lie unguarded. Old stations, forgotten mines. We'll take what we can and no one will know." They crossed the line. For hours nothing happened, the smuggler laughed. "See, just empty stars." He filled his hold with scraps from a drifting station, human design but long abandoned. "Riches for fools," his partner muttered nervously. Then the hum began. The partner froze. "No, not the song." The smuggler shrugged. "Just old systems waking." But then lights appeared, 1, 2, 3, circling their ship. Not meteors, not machines, but small drones, sleek and silent, each bearing the same word carved deep. Earth. The smuggler panicked. He jettisoned the stolen cargo. The drones did not move. Instead, a new voice filled the cabin, low and calm. "You trespass. You were warned." The partner begged. "We're leaving. We'll go." The voice replied, "You will go, but you will not forget." The drones fired, not to destroy but to scar. Beams sliced across the ship's hull, carving symbols into the metal. When the smuggler dared to look, he saw the word burned deep. Remember. They were guided back, their engines powerless, their pride broken. When they stumbled into alien space again, the ship bore the mark like a curse. Other smugglers saw it. Traders whispered of it, and soon the tale spread faster than the smuggler's shame. Back in the council chamber, the story arrived before the smuggler did. Leaders stared at drawings of the scarred hull. The word was plain, carved not with rage, but with certainty. "Why spare him?" a warlord demanded. The archivist answered quietly, "Because killing him would end his tale. But this way, his shame carries their message to us all." The first speaker stood at last, his voice heavy. "Now we understand. The humans do not want our lands, our trade, or our surrender. They want only one thing, respect for their border. They will not strike unless forced, but if forced, they will not stop." The chamber fell silent. Even the proudest leaders had no reply. The truth was too clear. Far beyond their reach, in the silent dark, human fleets drifted unseen. They did not cheer their victories, nor boast of their power. They waited, patient, steady, eternal. The galaxy finally began to understand the cost of crossing them. And so, when traders whispered, "Why does no alien dare enter human space?" the answer was no longer myth, no longer doubt. It was simple, carved into metal, burned into memory, and carried in the silence of the stars, because they are always watching. The galaxy had grown quiet after the smuggler's return. His scarred ship, branded with a single word, became a warning no law could match. Traders whispered, soldiers avoided patrols near the border, and even warlords fell silent when the subject of humanity rose. Yet silence never lasted long. Pride and curiosity were stronger than fear, and soon whispers grew in the great council once more. One evening, as stars gleamed cold beyond the chamber's vast window, the first speaker summoned the council. His crest was low, his voice grave. "We stand at a choice. Do we treat the humans as myth and hope their silence lasts? Or do we face the truth that they are here and stronger than we imagine?" A younger envoy, bold and untested, rose. If they wished to conquer, they would have done so already. Perhaps they are only hiding weakness. Perhaps all their silence is a game. The captain who had once escaped the border shook his head. "I have looked into their darkness. Weakness does not wait in shadows. Weakness does not hum warnings instead of firing first. They are not ghosts, they are guardians, and guardians strike when provoked." Still, not everyone listened. A wealthy merchant leaned forward, eyes gleaming with greed. "Borders can be bargained. Every empire has a price. We must at least attempt contact. Trade may tame them where force cannot." The council argued deep into the night. Some wanted peace, some wanted war, and some simply wanted to forget. But at last, they agreed on one thing. A signal must be sent. Not fleets, not spies, only words. A message offered with open hands. A ship was chosen, crewed by envoys and translators, carrying no weapons. As they crossed the edge of human space, fear pressed heavy on their chests. The stars ahead were dark, patient, endless. The envoy whispered, "Will they hear us?" "They will," the captain muttered, remembering the voice that had once filled his mind. The question is, what will they answer? They sent the signal. Simple words broadcast into the void. We seek peace. We respect your border. We ask only to speak. For long hours, nothing answered. The silence was suffocating. The crew whispered to each other, fear rising. Maybe they are gone. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they are waiting to strike. Then the hum began, soft, low, like the heartbeat of the stars. The crew froze. The navigator gripped her chair. They've heard. Lights flickered into existence, a path of faint beacons glowing in the dust. Slowly, a shadow took form. Not vast and formless like before, but clear. A ship. Human. Its black. Hull reflected no starlight, its weapons silent but terrible. Across its side was a single emblem, a circle split in half light, half dark. The voice came deep and steady. You cross with no weapons. You ask to speak. Then you may. The envoy's throat tightened. We come to learn. We come to respect. We ask only this. Why do you guard your space in silence? Why let fear grow across the stars? The answer was long in coming. When it arrived, it was colder than ice, because fear protects better than war. War ends in death. Fear ends before the first shot. The envoy dared to press further. Then is there hope for peace? For trade? The silence returned. Just when despair threatened to crush them, the voice spoke again. There is hope, but peace is not given. It is earned. And trust is harder than victory. The ship moved aside, clearing a path back toward alien space. Go now. Carry this message. We are not your enemy unless you choose us to be. Enter with peace, and you may leave with peace. Enter with harm, and you will not return. The envoy bowed his head, though the humans could not see him. We will carry your words. As their ship turned back, the crew felt the weight of unseen eyes. Shadows shifted in the dark, silent fleets hidden in black. The hum followed them until they crossed the border, then faded into stillness. When they returned to the council, the chamber was packed. Every leader leaned forward, waiting for the envoy's report. His voice was calm but firm. The humans do not seek conquest. They do not seek tribute. They seek only respect. Their silence is not weakness. It is strength. They will not strike unless forced. But if forced, they will. And thus, the chamber fell into silence. No one argued. No one dared. Even the proud warlords lowered their eyes. That night, across the galaxy, the story spread. The humans had spoken. They were not monsters, not myths, but guardians who remembered every scar of their history. They asked for no throne, no crown, only space to breathe, and the promise of peace if left alone. Yet the final words of the envoy carried the deepest weight. As he left the chamber, he whispered to himself, "No alien dares enter human space, because humans do not need to roar. Their silence is enough." And far beyond, at the border where the stars grew dark, the human fleets drifted unseen, patient as ever. Watching, waiting, certain that the galaxy had finally understood.